So, what if being present isn't some passive state you have to work at? What if it's actually the very architecture of reality itself? In this explainer, we're diving into a really powerful framework from the Mastering Thought YouTube channel. It's the work of Dr. Mark Waller, a therapist for over 26 years, and Christina Black, a cranial sacral and massage therapist. They suggest that presence has a structure, and, understanding it, well, it can change pretty much everything.
Here's where we're headed. First, we're going to tear down the old idea of what presence is. Then we'll get into something called the field and the fold, which is the building block of reality. After that, we'll look at the difference between harmony and just plain noise in our lives. And finally, we'll talk about how to get back to our true, natural state of presence. It's a journey, but it all connects.
Everything we're about to unpack really comes down to this one question. Do you think of the present moment as a place you just pop into every now and then? Or, as this work suggests, does it have a real, tangible, active structure? The answer, as you'll see, makes all the difference.
Okay, so let's jump right in by challenging that idea most of us carry around. We're always told to be present, as if it's this quiet, passive thing you do. But what if that's totally backwards? What if it's the most active process there is?
This is the core shift in thinking right here. Presence isn't a state of mind you achieve. It is the architecture of your experience. It's the literal scaffolding that reality is built on in every single moment. It's an active participation, not observation. So to really get that architecture, we have to go to the foundation, kind of like the source code of reality. In this model, it's called the field, and it underpins absolutely everything else we're going to talk about.
So what is the field? Think of it less like a place and more like the very aliveness of existence. It's described as this huge, intelligent ocean of awareness. It's not a thing you can point to. It's the fundamental quality of everything, the isness that reality itself springs from. And this leads to a really profound idea. Awareness was here first. Before there was anything, any form at all, there was just this field of pure potential. But here's the thing. For awareness to know itself, it can't just remain a formless sea. It has to create an experience. It has to fold into something specific so it can have a point of view.
And that brings us to the actual mechanism of creation. If the field is the canvas, how does the picture get painted? Well, the answer is an action called the fold. This is the real magic.
So what is a fold? Just imagine that smooth ocean of awareness suddenly curving, folding back on itself to create a distinct point of view, a specific experience. That's it. That's the fold. It's the primary move that turns the universal, formless field into the particular things we see and feel. Now, this whole process has 3 key moves. First, the fold creates a potential reality. Then comes recursion. That's the fold looping back on itself, almost like a quality control check. It asks, does this new creation resonate with the underlying pattern of the field? If the answer is yes, then harmonic coherence kicks in, and it stabilizes that creation, making it real and tangible.
I know this can sound a bit abstract, but you can actually feel it. Here's how co-creator Christina Black, the therapist, describes feeling this happen in her work. Listen to this. She's not just talking about a tight muscle letting go. She's describing a moment where reality itself reorganizes, where a dissonant, chaotic pattern resolves and blooms back into its natural, coherent form. That's a fold in action. And this pattern, it isn't just in our bodies. It's fractal, which means the exact same folding pattern shows up at every single scale of reality. You see it in the way a tree branches out, the spiral of a galaxy, the ragged edge of a coastline, and in the very way our experiences are built, second by second. It's like the universal signature of creation.
Okay, I know. A field folding into fractal patterns. What on earth does this have to do with your actual life? Well, everything. Because the quality of that fold determines the quality of your experience. And this brings us to a feeling we all know. Harmonic resonance versus noise. We all know these two states, right? On one hand, you have harmonic coherence. That's when you're in the zone. It's that feeling of effortless flow, of deep clarity, when synchronicities are happening and everything just clicks. It just feels right. And then there's the opposite, harmonic dissonance. That's the static, the noise, the confusion, the anxiety, the feeling that things are just falling apart. And there's a really good reason for why they feel so different. A coherent resonant pattern is basically in tune with the fundamental structure of the field. And because of that, it gets a constant stream of energy that makes it stable and sustainable. Dissonant patterns, on the other hand, are out of tune. They're just noise. And without that stable connection, they're unstable and they eventually just collapse. So this takes us to the final, and honestly the most crucial part of all of this. If this coherent, resonant presence is our natural state, then why do we feel so disconnected from it so much of the time? And here's the really hopeful part. You never actually lost your presence. It's always there, just like the sun. All the noise, the static, the dissonance of life, that's just clouds passing in front of it. And those clouds create this really powerful illusion that you have to struggle and fight to get back to a place you never, ever left. So what are these clouds exactly? Well, according to this model, the interference that blocks our natural presence comes from three main sources. First, our attention just gets hooked by all the chaotic noise around and inside us. Second, that little narrator in our head takes over, replacing direct experience with its constant story about it. And third, old emotional residue hijacks our perception, making us react to the past instead of just responding to what's right here. And this brings us to what might be the single most important takeaway from this whole thing. Dr. Waller says it so well here. Trying to work on being present is like a fish trying to work on finding water. It doesn't make any sense. You're already in it. The real work is on your clarity. The goal is simply to remove the noise that's obscuring the presence that is already and always will be right here. Look, we have only just scratched the surface of this incredibly deep model. To really go further and to learn some actual practical exercises for improving your own clarity, we can't recommend this enough. Go visit the source, the Mastering Thought channel on YouTube with Dr. Mark Waller and Christina Black. So we'll leave you with this one last question to chew on. After all of this, just take a moment and ask yourself honestly, are you actively participating in the living, breathing architecture of your experience? Or are you just listening to a story about it? Are you truly living your life or just thinking it?